topics this week include many, starting off with, careful with that tweet, Twitter list photos, Google News grants, email engagement, dogs of Zoom, KSTP Nightcast, Lego Maniacs, Calacanis' new social network, P&G's Take Sides, Google Scrolls, Twitter Trump fail, Google Ad credits, email signature objectives, some stats on email signature objectives. So you want to stick around for them, but BL kicks it off with the best story of the week, as you always do. BL, what do you got?
Well, I like what Twitter support tweeted. They would like you now to read the article that you're tweeting about. And so they said that sometimes you share an article to spark a conversation, and they suggest you may want to read it before you tweet it. So to help promote, it says, to help promote informed discussion, we're testing a new prompt on Android. When you retweet an article that you haven't opened on Twitter, we may ask if you'd like to open it first. This has been one of my pet peeves forever. You know, when I used to write for Ad Age and everywhere else that I've ever written, what happens is people comment on the headline or they comment on the comments and they don't read the article. And many times what they'll say is, why didn't you say such and such, which is exactly what you said. So I think this is a good idea, but not everybody agrees. So somebody named Paul Wouter, he tweeted, who made you God? And how do you know what I'm doing in my other browser tabs? And also, why are you tracking what I read? So Twitter answered him. They said, for this experiment, if you tap to retweet an article link, we'll check if you've recently clicked the article link only on Twitter, not elsewhere. When you see the prompt, you'll always have the option to go ahead and retweet. You know, I think that's a really good idea, and I think that it should actually be on all social platforms.
I get a couple of thoughts on that. The comment of why are you reading monitoring what I'm doing is like, do you not understand how social media works?
Exactly.
Come on.
What did you think it
Monitor everything that you do. So that set aside, though, no, I have mixed feelings about this. I get what they're doing it, and there's a reason, there's a salutary reason why they're doing it. But at the same time, I confess I tweet a lot of things that I don't actually read. I have trusted sources. I know that they're good sources. Like traditional mainstream and some of the trade publications I follow and stuff. I mean, I'm not gonna tweet anything that I would consider controversial or I would disagree with, because I know that the sources are solid.
That's so interesting, Dave. I would not do that. I generally go and read the article and look for a quote from within the article that I can use, or I have a response to the article that I read. But I do read the article. It's extremely, extremely rare that I would not read the article. But I don't generally necessarily read it on Twitter.
Well, I use Twitter as a bookmark as much as anything. So there are things that I will get back to that'll tweet that I haven't read right away. And in the process of bookmarking stuff, there's a lot of stuff that I actually don't get back to as a result. But it is stuff that I think I tweet stuff that I think is interesting, that are developments in digital marketing or social media or whatever, that I think people will find interesting. I know the sources are solid. It's something based on the headline that I want to know more about. So even if I don't read it, I think I'm not.
We have different styles.
Yes,
you tweet, you post 100 times a day.
Well, the other thing that's the point though. The other thing is I use Hootsuite to schedule tweets. So is this going to get in the way? Is this going to interrupt my workflow with using Hootsuite? If it's tweeting stuff that I'm obviously not clicking on the tweet. I don't know.
But I think it's a good idea. I support that decision.
All right. Well, I will I'll remains to be seen with me. If it screws with my workflow, then I won't be in favor of it. Speaking of Twitter, though, here's another development of Twitter. I like this one. This is an unqualified yes from me. This is from a Social Media Today article by Andrew Hutchinson, who reports that Twitter is now allowing you to edit the banner photo for your Twitter lists. So I've created a ton of Twitter lists.
Me too.
And I have like ones for industries and prospective clients. I just use them for all kinds of different things. But now you can add the banner photo at the top of the Twitter list. You can edit that and upload your own photo, which is really cool. So what happens then is they used to have just these default images. But now you can add, like branded image if you want to. But then when people share your list, and it makes it, more appealing, obviously, with a good, nice image, which would encourage people to share it, I would think. But when you share it, Twitter will display in the share the custom banner. It also displays the number of list members and the list owner for the Twitter list. So I did it. I'll put a how to do thing in the show notes. But I did it with an advertising experts list that I have, and I'm going to unlock. Most of my lists are private. I'm going to start unlocking them now.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, I'm not. I keep most of my lists private. I have them for my own research for the most part.
Share the wealth. Share the love, BL.
No thanks. So something that I really approve of, Google. This is from. Can I say this? This is from Google News Initiative. This is from an article by Ludovic Blecher on the Google blog. And Google's giving 5,300 local newsrooms around the world grants of $5,000 to $30,000 to help them survive the pandemic. And local news outlets are going down in droves. So Google says to provide some help. Last month, the Google News Initiative launched the Journalism Emergency Relief Fund. We're announcing that more than 5,300 small and medium local newsrooms around the world will receive funding grants ranging from $5,000 to $30,000. Applications for publications under one umbrella organization are capped at $85,000. But they expect to spend tens of millions of dollars for the Journalism Emergency Relief Fund, and they got 12,000 applications from 140 eligible countries. 90% of those were newsrooms with less than 26 journalists. And so more than 300 Googlers joined forces to check the submissions, and they held dozens of webinars and office hours to answer questions and guide people through the process. I think that's a wonderful use of Google's money.
It is, but $5,000 sounds like, what's that going to do for a news organization? I mean, it's better than a stick in the eye.
Well, exactly. You're contrary today.
Yeah, I am. I am. I get another Google cheapskate article in worse, so we'll get to that eventually.
Okay. Oops.
On
Go
top
ahead.
of that, yeah, this is from Star Tribune's Neil Justin, who reports about KSTP TV, which is one of our local news stations in Minnesota. They are an ABC affiliate, and they have changed their format for their 10 p.m. newscast. They've adopted a longer format. So instead of covering 24 stories in 35 minutes, they are now focusing on 5 or 6 topics. So they're giving the reporters and photographers more time to tell their stories. 5 to 6 4-minute segments is what it amounts to. Nightcast is what it's called. It debuted on May 4. It was the brainchild of their news director, Kirk Varner, who joined KSTP in April of 2019 after spending time in New York City, Cincinnati, and Charleston. But the idea was a direct response to the challenge of covering the coronavirus crisis, where you need a lot more time to explain what's going on. And he hopes that the new approach will elevate the broadcast ratings, which have been long mired in 3rd or 4th place. I confess I don't watch much of them for probably that reason. They've kind of had a history of being known as a gotcha investigative journalism, kind of headline creating investigative journalism outfit. But I have a lot of hope for this. This is really, I think, a really good development. You think about John Oliver, and how his 10-minute segments of covering one topic, you learn so much, everything you need to know about that one topic in 10 minutes. Hopefully this can do it for local news and their 4-minute segments too.
Trevor Noah does that as well, and that's much more interesting to listen to. So finally, there's a great use for Zoom. Pedigree, the pet food, is teaming up with shelters to have video chats where you can meet and also adopt a dog. So the source was a tweet from Pedigree, and so the issue is that a lot of people are very lonely during this pandemic, and they want to adopt a dog or a cat, but the shelters are closed. So, but the shelters are not empty. The shelters have animals there, and they need homes. So you can go and you can meet a dog or a cat and learn a little bit about it on Zoom. And Lucy loves Zoom. And you can decide if you want to take that animal home. I think that's a wonderful use of Zoom. Finally, a great use for Zoom.
I like that. I like that a lot. That's a great idea. This is from Campaign Monitor, their email marketing service. They have done a survey. They've done a survey of 400 consumers on how they want to engage with brands through email, and it's got some interesting stuff. A significant portion of the respondents somewhat agree that personalization will make it more likely for them to buy from an email. But I'm like, what does personalization mean? I think that means a lot of things to different people. Like personalizing, having your name in the to field, is that personal? Yeah, but personalized content. So does it give me more content of the type that I've been consuming already? Personalization I've seen in catalog emails of personalization based on past purchases. I mean, Amazon does this all the time, and that's true personalization. But one of the biggest indicators of whether customers will purchase is, not surprisingly, how familiar they are with the brand, right? So the most important thing that will get somebody to open any email is it coming from a known sender. And this is along those lines as well. So what Campaign Monitor suggests is having strong welcome sequence to your new subscribers. They become familiar with your brand. But lastly, they asked the respondents to rank the emails they're most likely to open. And in order, they are A, personal correspondence. So obviously, I get an email from you, BL, I'm going to open up because I know you. A promotional offer, sale, or discount from a familiar brand, again, known sender. New product from a brand I love, known sender. A newsletter that I anticipate every week, again, known sender. Promotional offer, sale, or discount from an unfamiliar brand. Now we're getting into territory where they're less likely to open. Content that feels created just for me. Tips and tricks that will improve my life. Emails with interesting subject lines. Insider information about a product or industry I'm interested in. And lastly, content from a blog I follow. It is a B2C survey, so there's nothing really there for, it's not specifically B2B, but there are things that you can learn. There's a lot more findings there with examples, so we'll put a link to it in the show notes for people to check out.
I unsubscribe. Anytime you buy anything from anyone, they then feel like they can email you every day for the rest of your life. So I put all those in spam because, and anytime that I want to unsubscribe from something and they ask me to enter my email list, I'm like, screw you, and I spam it. So the one that I open all the time, and I get 3 or 4 emails a day from them, this is my favorite source, Uniqlo. And I get stuff from the Gap, but I never buy from the Gap, so I never open them. But I unsubscribe from most of the things that I've ever bought from, unless I just love that company. But the other things on the list that you gave, I open all of those.
What was the brand you said?
Uniqlo.
What is it?
It's sort of the Japanese upscale version of the Gap. The things that they sell are beautifully designed and very well made, but inexpensive and very trendy. And things change quickly. You know, from one week to the next, you'll have new stuff. So, as a matter of fact, this is from Uniqlo.
Very good.
What else you got? I got more.
Go ahead.
This is hilarious. This is these are Lego Maniacs, and I know that we love Lego, but we're not this nuts. Yeah, well, this is the Brick Wall, and they make videos of these really outrageous, it's way beyond Rube Goldberg, outrageous Lego creations, including Lego machines that make tacos and fruit plates and potatoes. I'll put some links to some of their videos. They're completely insane. I mean, it's the most complicated Rube Goldberg machine made out of Legos that, you know, peels the potatoes and fries them up. It's hilarious.
That's awesome. You can make anything with Legos. I love Legos.
Yeah, apparently. But the one that makes tacos just cracks me up.
So you saw that that recently Trump was on the call with Mark Zuckerberg, right?
No, I didn't see that.
Oh, you didn't see that? Yeah.
No.
So during
I know they're buddies.
Yeah, so it was reported by Axios that they were on the Trump and Zuckerberg had a phone call during kind of the crisis of the George Floyd crisis in the aftermath of George Floyd murder. But the Wrap's Samson Amore reports that startup investor Jason Calacanis saw that and urged Facebook and Instagram users to leave the social platform and announced plans to fund alternatives. So he made it in direct response to that reporting of Trump and Zuckerberg chatting on the phone. He didn't provide any more details or if any specific startups are candidates for his funding, but he is a big angel investor. His prior investments include Uber, Robinhood, Calm, and Tumblr in their early stage funding rounds. But you know what? I would be happy to jump ship if we could find an actual alternative that would have a critical mass, because that's the problem with Facebook and Instagram is everybody's there, so you can't leave. And
I know Jason, and the last time I saw him was for dim sum in Chinatown quite a while back. But Jason's got the money, that's for sure. And a lot of times when he says he's going to do something, he does it. Back in the day, he was a conference promoter and then became an investor, and he's a good guy. And it would be very interesting if he was able to pull that off. I mean, I think Facebook's become a total cesspool. I am so without interest in it anymore.
It's a damned if you do and damned if you don't kind of thing for a marketer, because it's toxic for our democracy. So I'm 100% against it when it comes to that. But as an advertising platform, I mean, I feel like you can't ignore it. You need to use it, but also you need to kind of advise your clients of there are ethical issues you need to consider too. So yeah, it's tough. Anyway.
It is tough. So here's something that I think is quite extraordinary. P&G has a campaign that continues. It's called Take on Race, and it's an initiative that they have. And this is from an Ad Age Creativity article by I wish I could pronounce this. Ihsan Sherwood. Apologies if I butchered your name. But what they're saying is that it's a call to action aimed at people who don't usually speak up about systematic racism and police violence. And it's saying, which is completely true, it starts with a video, and it's white text on black skin, and it asks rhetorical questions about institutional oppression. how are we going to respond and when we're shown over and over that our lives don't matter. It transitions to black text on white skin. It points out that power comes from privilege, and it urges people who have the power to use it to support anti-racist efforts. And what they say is not being racist is not enough. Now it's time to be anti-racist. And so they want you to read, listen, donate, plan, march, vote, speak out, step in, and step up. And so it continues with resources. So, for example, in the read section, they have links to the New York Times Pulitzer Prize winning 1619 project that examined white supremacy and race relations since the arrival of the first enslaved Africans. And it has a link to Robin DiAngelo's White Fragility. And also, because many anti-racism books are currently sold out, they have a link to the Washington DC Public Library that has made them free to download, and it has links to give money to organizations like NAACP Legal Defense Fund and Education Fund, Color of Change, the National Urban League. It's not the first time that they have done something on a sensitive topic, but it's just done so really well.
Very cool. Very cool. I will have to check that out. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I just saw that today.
Very good. This is, I don't know how I feel about this. This is interesting. This is from a Verge article by John Porter, who reports that Google is now, the instant snippets at the top of search results when you search for something and it answers what you searched for, so you don't have to go to a website. So those featured snippets, now, if you click on them, it will take you to the website. They always have taken you to the website if you click on them, and many people don't because they've already answered the question. But when you click on them, Google will take you to the web page that is the source of that answer. But now it will automatically scroll to the section of that web page where the answer occurs and then highlight that answer. So it's kind of, I don't know how to feel about this because it's clearly it's a usability improvement for the searcher because they're going directly to that specific part on the page for the source. But
they might leave after that.
Well, I mean, it's better than them not coming at all, because
right.
that was happening as well. But also, if you're dependent upon advertising for your content, then it's likely it's scrolling past advertising that would otherwise have been seen. It was the Google had rolled out this functionality for AMP pages, the accelerated mobile pages, in 2018, and had started testing the functionality on HTML pages last year. But they're now apparently rolling them out to everyone. And the functionality apparently is limited based on what individual browsers support. But again, I don't know how I feel about it. I can see the usability improvements, but taking control of my content is kind of weird.
It is kind of weird, but I do see the usability aspect of it. So I'm out of good news. I'm into bad news. How about you?
Let's go into bad. What do you got?
Well, a major Twitter fail on Trump tweets. 54% of Americans favor Twitter flagging Trump tweets that are lies. So the source of this is Twitter Safety and also an article by Ina Fried in Vice. On May 29th, Trump posted a completely racist tweet threatening to shoot protesters who looted. So Twitter flagged the tweet, saying this tweet violated Twitter's rules about glorifying violence. However, Twitter has determined that it may be in the public's interest for the tweet to remain accessible. Okay, cool. You know, he had a meltdown about that. But Twitter said placing a tweet behind this notice also limits the ability to engage with the tweet through likes, retweets, or sharing on Twitter, and make sure the tweet isn't algorithmically recommended by Twitter. So the idea was to limit the tweet's reach while maintaining the public's ability to view it and discuss it. It's a great idea. Unfortunately, Twitter did not flag the disgusting, unfounded conspiracy theory tweet on June 10th in which he said that Martin Gugino, the 75-year-old protester who was injured in Buffalo when he was thrown to the ground by police and remains in the hospital in critical condition, according to CBS News. And on Tuesday, he said that he could be a provocateur for Antifa, and that the encounter might have been a setup. So more than 3 in 5 Americans, including 42% of conservatives, said that potentially false statement by politicians are a bigger threat than censorship by social media companies. You think? I mean, how could they let that stand and have any kind of policy about truth on the platform? That just really pisses me off.
Double standards have never been, an issue with Twitter or consistency in enforcing their policies or anything like that. You mentioned Antifa, and I just wanted to comment that the Antifa is actually short for anti-fascist.
Yeah.
And so one of the
it's not an organization.
Yeah. But one of the memes that I was seeing this week on social media was photos of American troops from World War II for landing on the beaches during D-Day. And with the comment that American Antifa members storming the beaches. It's like, yeah. So my worst is Google. So this is from a CNET article by Richard Nieva, who reports that we previously talked about them granting advertisers credits to use to survive the coronavirus pandemic. But now they've begun to roll out relief packages for advertising partners in a handful of countries, Italy, Australia, Taiwan, and ahead of some broader expansion. Companies that qualify will get a credit worth up to $1,000.
No big whoop.
So exactly. Particularly travel businesses disappointed. It has a quote from a guy named Douglas Quinby, who's the CEO of Arrival, which is a Boulder, Colorado-based travel research company, that says, quote, "To put it euphemistically, this is utterly underwhelming. Global travel and tourism is one of the world's largest verticals and a major contributor to Google's profitability over the past 2 decades. They could and should do more." This follows Google's decision to create an $800 million package to help organizations that are ailing. They earmarked $340 million in advertising credits to small and medium-sized businesses across all industries. So I'm like, $1,000 is nothing on Google, especially in a high, if you're in a legal industry or the travel industry. This guy said in the article, he said we spent $7,500 in one day advertising on Google. So I usually recommend, for small clients, $2,500 a month to start, just to learn. It's going to take you a month or 2 or 3 maybe to learn what works and what doesn't. And so $1,000 is nothing.
Yeah, well, it's a gesture.
I guess it's better than a stick in the eye.
A lot of things are these days.
Yeah.
So does that bring us to shiny objects?
Yeah, what do you got?
Well, I got a good one. This is called Neutral, and it's a browser extension that shows the environmental impact of your purchases. So the stuff we buy is responsible for mountains and mountains of wasted packaging and millions of transport miles. In every online purchase, Neutral calculates and offsets your online shopping carbon footprint. So they calculate the carbon footprint of your product by accounting for all the materials and the energy inputs that were consumed and generated, transport, storage, waste outputs throughout the life cycle. Our carbon footprint calculations are directly sourced from the Carbon Scope Data database, which is one of the largest and the biggest comprehensive databases in North America. So I think that's a really fascinating extension.
Yeah, cool. Mine is nothing nearly as as beneficial as that. But several episodes back, we talked about Vimeo having a new product for small businesses to help them create ads, basically using royalty-free music and images, and allowing you to kind of hack together without knowing video stuff your own ad. YouTube has rolled out their YouTube video builder, and so I just got access to it. So I haven't actually tried it yet, but it looks interesting. This Adweek's David Cohen reported on this a couple of weeks ago. But with it, you can create a video ad that's optimized for YouTube using just your images. So you upload your images, upload your logo, and use text, and then you can use their royalty-free audio music to accompany it. They have specific video layout options for like showing interactions with a phone. So if you've got a mobile app or something, highlighting product catalogs, promoting your app download, sharing a promotion, introducing or featuring your brand, and increasing consideration of what your offering is. So we'll try it out, and I'll report back on how it works. Maybe we'll create something, a trailer or something for the
I like
show.
That.
Yeah,
I like that. So this is called it's a free hashtag tracking tool called Hashtag Tracker, and it monitors hashtag performance. It's got hashtag analytics for Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and it's free. And it's from a company called Brand Mention, which is a very interesting platform, which is kind of expensive, but really, really full-featured. So both are worth a look.
Very cool. Does it have numbers or data associated with hashtags?
Yes, it does. Yes,
it
does.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. Do you have another?
Yeah. This is awesome. This is a live UA map. UA stands for Universal Awareness. So this is, I'll just read from the About section. Live Universal Awareness Map is a leading independent global news and information site dedicated to factual reporting of a variety of important topics, including conflicts, human rights issues, protests, terrorism, weapons deployment, health matters, natural disasters, weather-related stories, among others, from a vast array of sources. So what they do is they take news events and they mash them up on a map, and you can filter the map by region, language, time. There's a free and pro version, but I took it and I looked back. You can go back in time and look at what happened. There's also a live version of it. But I went back and looked at Minnesota starting on May 28th from the George Floyd murder, and then the riots and protests that happened afterwards. And you can see on the map they have little icons for different types of events. So if there's a fire, there's a fire icon. If there's a shooting, there's a gun icon, and you can. It's just a fascinating thing. It's free. There's pro version. The pro version, if I remember correctly, it was like $10 for 6 months. So it's really low cost. But I'm planning on using this in a project I got coming up. Yeah, something I will definitely be using in the future here.
That is so interesting.
Yeah.
So WordPress has something new. I got a WordPress warning email this morning, and it's there's now a built-in feature since the WordPress 5.2 update, and it detects when a plugin or a theme is causing a fatal error on your site, and it notifies you with an automated email, and the email tells you which plugin is the issue and which page it's on. So in my case, it was the Yoast SEO Premium, and there was an update to it, and I guess I hadn't updated it. I don't know if that was the problem.
Yeah.
Well, it's just this last week, but it tells you to visit your website, check for any visible issues. So you visit the page where the error was caught that they tell you. But if your site is broken as a result of whatever it is, and you can't access your dashboard, normally WordPress now has a special recovery mode, and this lets you log into your dashboard and investigate further. And to keep your site safe, the link that they send you for that specific login only lasts for 1 day. But it says, don't worry about it. A new link will be emailed to you if the error occurs again after it expires. Like, that's really cool.
Interesting. So when I hear fatal error, what I associate with that is your site is down. There's like it's inaccessible for people.
But it wasn't.
Okay, so we talked about in many episodes past the WordFence plugin, which is a security plugin that emails you when your plugins are not up to date or when there's an issue or whatever with your site. But especially, it reminds you to update your plugins, and that's used 9 times out of 10. That's where a lot of your problems come in, is people aren't updating their plugins. So hopefully that's something they include in this update with WordPress as well, because that's a
really good
major security problem.
Yeah, it's a really great feature. So that's all I got.
All right, I'm done. What's next? So I've got one too. This is from Times Tara Law, who reports that there's a group of activist researchers who have been collecting videos of alleged police misconduct during the protests. So they've assembled they've checked the veracity of the videos and are assembling all of the videos into a Google spreadsheet. So there are 636 entries as of today. I checked before the show. They have them categorized by city and state. Some of them are from, like, I saw one from UK as well. They link to the videos. There's a mashup for a police brutality map too, so you can see where they have occurred in the United States. The leader of the project is T. Greg Doucette, who is a North Carolina criminal defense attorney who has followed police misconduct cases for years. He produces a podcast called Fisk Amal, and that primarily discusses causes of police conduct, and he's been sharing these stories on his social media account for nearly 15 years. I'll put a link to both his podcast and the map and the Google spreadsheet in the show notes for people to check out.
So interesting that he's been doing that for 15 years, and you still have to do it.
Yeah.
You know, on the broadcast that Trump hated so much, that Sesame Street did, and one of the questions that a child asked was, my Nana protested against inequality in the 60s. How come we have to keep doing it? And that's a really good question, and I hope this time is different. But as we speak, demonstrators are out there, and I hope they're not going to stop.
Good for them. I get a pro tip. This is from Jason Calacanis, actually. It's not his pro tip, but I noticed something. He has a site called inside.com, which is a collection of insider industry newsletters that you can subscribe to. So at the top is all the newsletters according to industry that you can subscribe to. And then after that is a section of proposed newsletters. So he has a bunch of newsletters that he's proposing to do. And the quote underneath it is, if these newsletters reach their goals or get a sponsorship, vote for all your favorites. And then it lists the individual newsletters, and with the name of the newsletter and the description, accompanied by a vote button. When you click on the vote button, there's a pop-up for you with a subscribe form to enter your email and subscribe to it. And then once they reach their target, it includes the number of subscribers and the target subscriber base. So it has the number and how it's like a fundraising goal with a thermometer, right? Once they reach that subscriber base, then they'll launch the newsletter. And it just seems like a very clever way of building your email list before you even launch the newsletter. Of course, you need the critical mass of visitors that Jason Calacanis has, but it's interesting. Put a link to it in the show notes so people can check it out. It's an interesting tactic.
It's a very interesting tactic. He's an internet old-timer, so he's certainly, had time to build a list.
Yeah, right.
So, that brings us to the end of episode 3.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't? Oh, no, of course. Weekly numbers.
Yeah, so this is, as I mentioned at the top, this is email signature marketing objectives. It is based on a survey of 750 global marketers and business owners, 66% of whom say They rely on the corporate email as a main source for interaction with their customers and prospects. That's not surprising. The survey asked about objectives for their email signatures in particular, which is what caught my eye because I've never seen any survey addressing that particular topic. But in order, then, the most common objective for email signatures is to raise brand awareness, 82% said so, driving traffic to their website, 48%, generating leads, 34%, announcing new products, 23%, promoting events, 19%, and retaining customers, 19%. So interesting data there. I'll put a link to it in the show notes so you can check it out.
And that is just what they want their signature to do.
Just from the signature, email signature, correct.